Good morning, everybody, and a happy Saturday morning to you. We're going to start off by thanking Mega Flop Twerkle Jam Maker Influencer on Twitter for this picture above. I love it. The caption read, "Megxit failed, Meg, but I have an idea. Let's go back to the UK to start our own royal court. We could be king and queen." And believe it or not, I've told you before about Project Thaw, but now all the information about it has come out. We're going to cover all of that here. So let's just jump in and get busy because there's a lot. Let's go. I just want to start off by saying to all of you guys, I know, wish I could help you. All right, we're going to jump into the royal news, and we're starting with Queen Camilla because what she did was she attended an event while King Charles was at Westminster Abbey for the Advent service. She spent the afternoon at a service of thanksgiving for the life of Mr. Hugh Green, and the service was held at the Chapel Royal of St. James Palace. This was Princess Alexandra, the Honorable Lady Ogilvy, who hardly attends any public events, and the event was held in private with no pictures published. We're going to stick with Camilla. She threw her 20th annual party for children with life-limiting conditions at Clarence House. She was greeted by Santa Claus at the foot of the stairs, who gave her 2 squeaky toys for her pet dogs. And then after handing over the gifts, Santa said, "It was presents for Molly and Bluebell from Mrs. Claus, and there's nothing you can buy for the Queen." This is adorable. Now, there were 10 youngsters being treated to the event. This one little boy kept saying, "It's the Queen! It's the Queen!" Oh my God, this little boy has sickle cell and autism. Now, he kept pointing to the man behind the Queen going, "And there's the King!" And that wasn't the King. But there was a little girl named Alice Robertshaw who has SMA type 1, and she got a decorative jar she made at home to the Queen. They helped decorate the Clarence House Christmas tree. That's an annual tradition. And equerry Major Rob Treasure, who's taking over for the other equerry, Ollie Plunkett, was there for the first time to use his sword to play decorations selected by the children onto branches. Then they walked into the library where they served up sausages, mashed potatoes, and peas, which of course were laid out in smiley faces. The St. Camilla didn't put on airs. She walked around with a gravy boat, offering it to children and chatting to their parents and carers. And it was fabulous. And to end this event, they went outside. Remember I told you about Queen Victoria's sleigh the other day, the one that was designed for her by Prince Albert? They actually pulled out Queen Victoria's priceless state sleigh, and the youngsters got to sit on it. So here's some pictures for you. Now, sticking with Queen Camilla again, she contributed an article to the Spectator's Christmas Special, which is a British cultural magazine founded in 1928. For those who don't know, it's the oldest surviving magazine in the world. She discusses her favorite books in the article. I think that's lovely. Again, it's a special Christmas edition. I hope you guys can get one. Now, moving on to Prince William, he made a surprise appearance at a Christmas party at Windsor with the Welsh Guards at their barracks. Remember, he is the regiment's colonel. So there were some pictures that came out of him laughing with the officers who all looked very festive. They were wearing green and blue paper hats. Now, William helped to serve the Christmas dinner. He spent time with the members of the 1st Battalion. He had a few festive drinks. He looked like he was thoroughly enjoying himself, to be fair. For those who don't remember, Prince William joined this group of people for his gap year in the jungles of Belize. And then his time with the regiment was before he went to study at St. Andrews. And it was documented by royal author Katie Nichols in her book, William and Harry. And she explained how he was taught to kill and prepare his food. An exercise codenamed Native Trail began with instructions on slaughtering a pig, hanging it from a pole, butchering it, and they were all given a live chicken to kill. Oh my God. He also, by the way, spoke with members of the junior ranks in the sergeant's mess, had a few pints there, and heard about what they had been up to since returning from a training exercise in Kenya. He cuts quite the figure, doesn't he? Ooh, all right, let's keep going. All right, let's move on. This is very interesting. The royal author of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor's biography is now suing a U.S. publisher because they pulled the plug on his book. Remember, the book, entitled The Rise and Fall of the York House, was published in the summer and it became a bestseller in the UK. And it was supposed to be released in the United States, but it was pulled at the last minute, forcing the biographer, Andrew Lowney, to self-publish it. Okay. He alleged that Simon & Schuster's Gallery Books canceled the book deal and described the piece as unpublishable. And speaking to American news site News Nation, Mr. Lowney said, listen, they bought the book based on a finished manuscript in February. They advertised the book, then they pulled the plug a few weeks before the book was set to come out, saying it was unreadable. But according to their contract, they had to give me 90 days notice, which they did not. And so he's now suing them for $500,000 or £372,000. Mr. Lowney goes, they pulled the rug out from under me and I had to create a company called Westminster Press to publish my own book. I didn't have copies out in bookshops. All right, let's move on now to Princess Anne, the Princess Royal. She's Deputy Colonel-in-Chief of the Royal Regiment of Scotland. She visited the 3rd Battalion at Fort George in Inverness, Scotland. This took place on December 10th. I love her in that color. Let's move on now to the Duchess of Edinburgh. She attended an event in London that was organized by the Georgetown Institute for Women, Peace and Security to address conflict-related sexual violence in Ukraine, and they screened a film called Traces Excerpts. Thank you to Remoulade Sauce for showing us her outfit. Let's move on now to Princess Catherine, British Vogue's first ever best dressed list. And who do you think was at the top of it? That's right, the Princess of Wales, Princess Catherine. It's their very first 50 best dressed list that was put out in a landmark celebration of figures who have defined and elevated British style over the past year. And of course, it had to be Catherine. Now, she appears alongside fellow influencers Alexa Chung, Sienna Miller, Kate Moss, Naomi Campbell, and Victoria Beckham. They say that this group's collective impact on British fashion spans decades. Now, they're pointing out the fact that Meghan Markle did not make the list, even though she's had a whole year of very tightly curated appearances and an determined attempt to reassert her fashion credentials, including going to the Paris Fashion Week, but she didn't make the cut. She lost out, Meghan did, to names like Cynthia Erivo from Wicked, Keira Knightley, Mary Berry. I mean, these are the people who made the list. Yeah, I would have been shocked if Meghan had made the list. Good for Catherine, the Princess of Wales, not Princess Kate. Good for her. Let's move on. Let's go back now to Prince William. He paid a tribute to conservationist Dr. Lane Douglas Hamilton, who's passed away at the age of 83. He's an environmentalist, and he put up on Instagram some fond memories together in Africa. He was the founder of Save the Elephants and a long-term ambassador for Tusk, which we know William has also worked with. Very sad. And sticking with William, he gave honors to an 11-year-old girl. She became the youngest person ever to be made an MBE. She said she was speechless when she found out. I hope I say her name right. Camilla Chillery Watson. She was recognized in the King's birthday honors for her services to charitable fundraising. Now, she has a rare muscle wasting condition which affects just 1 in a million children across the world. She was diagnosed in 2017, aged 3, and in recent years has helped the charity Muscular Dystrophy UK raise more than £400,000 by doing 25 fundraising and awareness campaigns. So she was at the investiture ceremony at Windsor Castle, and she said, "I never thought I would have gotten an MBE. This is just incredible. I couldn't be happier," and she deserves it. Congratulations. She totally deserves it. Now let's move on. King Charles had some audiences at the palace. First, he received a gift from Ashraf Swellum, ambassador from the Arab Republic of Egypt, and his wife, Jumana Shihata, after presenting his credentials during the private audience. Now, there were more meetings. The king received Laureen Bannister Roberts, High Commissioner for the Commonwealth of Dominica, and Finland's ambassador to the United Kingdom, Teemu Turunen. All right, I want to move on to the Harry-Meghan stuff. Now, people are talking, especially Talk TV host Mark Dolan, about the way Meghan got in touch with her father. So here's what it comes down to. You have Thomas Markle, an 81-year-old man. He's lonely. He's in a foreign country thousands of miles from home. He has his son, Thomas Markle Jr., but he's got major issues too, let's be honest. He's got health problems. He's broke. He's not able to be at the hospital 24/7. So Caroline Graham flew over to fill the gap. And what was her reward for that? An attack from the Sussex public relations machine, throwing shade at the Mail on Sunday for running a story. And therefore, that's the definition of an attack on Caroline Graham, who is really a friend of Thomas Markle. Let me tell you, this entire situation with her father is a public relations disaster for Meghan, because she's been trying to rehab herself in the world of Hollywood. She's got As Ever, which is really failing. It's just some flour sprinkles and some honey. You've got a bitter war of words now back and forth, and all Thomas Markle gets from Meghan is one of her creepy calligraphy letters. When you're dying and your last hope is to meet your daughter and all you get is, some correspondence, that's a slap in the face. And given that Meghan knows Thomas Markle is fighting for his life, if that's not a wake-up call and you can't jump on a plane or call him, then absolutely nothing will change. Meghan would have to have an entire personality transplant. She has to develop some empathy. She doesn't have any. How many times have I told you guys that? All right, let's move on now to Harry. Once again, he's put out a statement that he stands firmly with those harmed by press intrusion as he backs the father of Madeleine McCann. She's the little girl that we know was kidnapped and disappeared. He fully supports the implementation of the Leveson Inquiry's recommendation, his spokesman has said. Gary McCann spoke of how the press interest into his daughter's disappearance made him feel like he was being suffocated and buried. Okay, that is a completely different situation than what Harry went through. This guy's little girl was kidnapped and disappeared, and they thought that he was a suspect. He was being investigated as a suspect. So Mr. McCann spoke out and said, this was a huge toll on my family because of the media interest after his daughter went missing. When your daughter goes missing, you kind of want the media interest. But he did say they came to their house. Photographers were literally ramming their cameras against our car window, which would terrify his twins. Let's move on now to our big story for the day. We know that Harry's security arrangements are being reviewed. I already spoke to you that he wants to come back. Well, Richard Eden put out an article, and this is what he had to say. I was shocked when I read this. So first of all, when Harry and Meghan abandoned their royal duties 5 years ago, when they went to, seek their fortune and be financially independent, they were stripped of their automatic right to police protection on return trips to Britain. Because, I mean, why should the British taxpayer pay an extremely expensive security bill for a super uber rich couple who no longer even lives in the country? And we know Harry refused to accept this, and he undertook, unsuccessful legal action against his own father's government, claiming the correct procedures had not been followed. He argued that an assessment of the risks they faced had not been carried out since they quit Britain in 2020. Remember that Sir Richard Mottram, who is chairman of the Home Office Committee, that's who decides who gets police protection. He said there was no need for a new risk assessment because the process only applied to those who lived in Britain, not those who chose to move abroad. And this logic was accepted by the judges who rejected Harry's appeal. However, that same committee who decides who gets police protection and is overseen by the Home Office has begun the new risk assessment of Harry's security. So after Harry lost, he wrote a letter to the woman you're looking at above. Her name is Shabana Mahmood, the Home Secretary. That happened in September, and he called for a new threat assessment to be carried out and even asked the Prime Minister to step in. So the decision to carry out a new risk assessment is even more striking because the legal position, which was upheld by the Court of Appeals, has not changed. The process doesn't apply to Harry and Meghan because they live overseas. But what has changed, according to Richard Eden, is that there is an establishment plot which aims to restore Harry and Meghan to the affections of the British public, and it's gathering pace and it has powerful supporters. Now, I already spoke to you about this. It's known as Project Thaw, and the aim is to warm up Harry and Meghan's relationship with the rest of the royal family and with the British people. And in September, King Charles was drawn into this, aided by some key figures in the establishment behind the scenes. And one of those is Senior Government Minister David Lammy. For those of you who don't know who he is, he's the Justice Secretary. And another person involved in this plot is Yvette Cooper, the Foreign Secretary. For those of you who don't remember her, she traveled on the same train as Harry to the Ukraine capital, Kiev, when she visited the war-torn country and when he visited in September. I covered all of that. She apparently admires Harry and wants him to play a bigger part in public life. Now, for those who don't know, she's married to Ed Balls. He is a former cabinet minister in the Blair administration. He is a host of Good Morning Britain, the very woke ITV breakfast show from which Piers Morgan resigned after Meghan complained to his bosses about the comments he made about the Oprah show, where we later found out she had 17 verified lies. She is one of the senior Labour Party figures that wants Harry and Meghan to reconcile with the royal family. And, Harry told the anti-monarchy newspaper, The Guardian, at the time that he hoped to return to Britain with Meghan and his children. And he said this week has definitely brought that closer. So the new risk assessment could result in taxpayer-funded police protection being restored to them. And the explanation will be that Harry and his family are planning to spend more time in Britain than previously. But as a friend of Harry's told Richard Eden in December, Harry wants to educate the children in the UK. The friend who discussed the subject with Harry during his visit to Britain that month said Harry feels his children are missing out on the extensive family network that the nieces and nephews are enjoying. He wants his children to have the very best education. He has retained his closest friendship group of confidence from his days at school. He wants that for his own children. And if the new risk assessment does result in police protection being restored to Harry and Meghan, there will be fury from the taxpayers, and it will be a highly dangerous move for the future of the monarchy, which again, a lot of people want the monarchy gone. So just when left-wing Labour MPs are rubbing their hands with glee at the review of the Crown state properties and the favorable terms given to members of the royal family, Harry and Meghan could be free to come and go at leisure at a considerable cost to the exchequer. So that's not good. And keep in mind also that Harry and Meghan wanted half in, half out. The Queen told them no. The only way to stop this, in my opinion, the only way is for the King to strip them of their prince title, strip them of their HRH, strip them of everything. I mean, make it clear you're no longer a member of the royal family. You're my son, but you have nothing to do with the monarchy. That's the end. And if they don't do it, that could be the end of the monarchy. Now, the funny thing about this whole story is Meghan hates the UK. Meghan is never going to allow Harry to take those children out of the United States and put them in school in the UK. She loves being a celebrity. She loves hanging around with the A-listers. She loves the Hollywood lifestyle. There's something else going on behind the scenes. Maybe Harry's trying to get it back so he can take the children and go back and leave Meghan. Who knows? But let me tell you something. Meghan hates the UK. Meghan hates Catherine. That's very obvious. She is so jealous of that woman. I mean, she's spitting fire every time she looks at her. Now, it is being reported online Harry wants Frogmore House back, and that's why William needs to stop them from living on royal property, because living on the grounds of Windsor near William will give their UK court legitimacy. I also want to point out that it's also being reported that Meghan wants to be treated on the same level as Catherine. That will never happen. No way. Oh my God. You guys know what I want. Put those comments down. Make them good. Don't forget to hit the like and the subscribe button and the bell for all notifications. Then go down into the description box where you'll find the link to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, a link to my second channel, a link to my father's book, which is still up for sale on Amazon. It makes a good stocking stuffer, and a link to my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who have donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. And as always, you guys, have a great day.